guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Unique Queen, and today guys, on this Motivational Monday, I'm here with my favorite guest, my fiance Mingo, and we're going to talk about mental illness and mentally ill inmates that's incarcerated, and just incarceration in general, and problems that we see with the prison system. And for those of you that are not new to the channel, you know that my fiance did do 12 years in prison, so you know he's not just assuming anything or whatever. He did do 12 years behind the wall, so I thought he would be the perfect guest for me to interview, you know, from a person's standpoint that's dealt with this personally. So I want to thank you today, Mingo, for allowing me to interview you for the show. Go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself before I jump into any questions.
All right. Y'all can call me Mingo for short. I did 12 years in prison, and it was 12 long, hard years. I come up in a single-parent household. Me being the only male. I'm in the middle of 3 siblings. My mother, she's still living. My father, he died when I was 13. And yeah, I was a troubled kid coming up.
Okay, like so many youths that grow up in single parents homes with their mother and, you know, their aunts and all the women of the family stepping up to do what they can, but it's really hard for a single woman to raise a man. So, you know, that's really a common situation. But I'm just going to get right into the questions. My first question for you, Mingo, would be, how has it been for you, and how have you been able to cope with me being an emotional wreck here lately with dealing with this situation with my son that's incarcerated?
Okay, to speak on that, okay, we know it ain't easy when you're dealing with somebody with mental illness, maybe, you know, some type of issue that they may have. But as you grow with them and you know the condition, you know how to, you know, help them cope with the issues, it becomes a awareness thing of knowing what they're going through, knowing at the time that they're going through something. It becomes easy, but out in the beginning stage, yeah, it's something hard because you don't know. But, you know, as you grow with that person, whether you a family member or y'all in a relationship or whatever it may be, you will grow to learn that person and know that person well. It's become a common thing. It's something that becomes a norm. So it just comes with knowledge.
Well, do you think, from speaking personally from your experience, do you think my worries and my concerns for my son being incarcerated for as long as he have, being mentally ill and not really hearing from him, do you think just as a mother I'm overreacting, or are my concerns warranted and really valid, you know, from someone that's been in the jail and prison system for so long?
I would say it's warranted because mental illness or not, you know, a mother and a child, that's a bond. So worrying, stressing, stuff like that, that comes with it. That's just like a father and a child that's attached. And it's nothing that's abnormal about that, because when your loved one, your child, or anything being put in a harmful situation, that's going to be the reaction. That's like a normal response to that type of situation. So worrying and stressing out, like, it's not good to worry, but it's all right to know that, you know, that person cares about that person that much to worry about that person, or, you know, that child of theirs or whatever. And it's normal. It's normal. I feel that don't stress yourself. That for anyone, what I'm saying. And if you're in that situation, don't stress yourself to the point where it makes you sick, or it puts you in a situation where you can't help that individual, because with you not being there to help them, what good use of you know, uh, stressing yourself when you can't actually do anything if you worry yourself to the point of being sick or, you know, not being able to be there for that person. So kind of think of that person needs me right now, so I got to control it. And I know it's hard to control, but try to control the emotions and stuff like that, though, because sometimes you can put yourself in whether that person in a bad situation, whether they ain't able to contact you or write you, or you ain't able to respond to them because you put yourself in a bad predicament or whatever it may be.
Yeah, let me rephrase my question. I guess the question I was trying to ask, I know it's not healthy for me to worry, but I guess what I'm trying to ask you, you know, from you seeing what goes on in prison firsthand with your own eyes, have dealing with it for 12 years, are my worries warranted? You know, are the mentally ill, or just people that are not mentally ill, man, woman, or child, because they lock children up as well, is the prison system, you know, a safe kind of place? You know what I mean? We know that our loved ones are there, you know, of course, for punishment for whatever they have done. But, you know, we expect for our loved ones to be treated with respect and with dignity and not being abused, you know what I mean, mentally or physically, you know, from anyone that's working in the Department of Corrections or the jail system. So I guess my question would be to you, should I not be concerned, you know, that he's in there? You know what I mean? As far as the treatment he would get from individuals.
Right. Now, speaking on that right there, being incarcerated, and having a mental condition, it's not really built for that. But I would say, depending on the stipulation, because you got to look at the statistics of overall, all the mental illness patients ain't going through it where they're being abused and nothing like that. But then you might have the ones that have a serious condition where they can't treat. And they get put in a situation where they're locking them away, or this inmate ain't responding well because of the high doses of medication they putting them on. You can't force them to meet because they ain't able to respond because they so, you know, highly treated on the medication. I'm gonna put it like that.
Overly medicated, basically.
Overly medicated, and it's like, what can they do? And it goes both ways because it trickles down. It's a higher person than the person that's doing their job for us, trying to treat the inmate or rehabilitate them. Because first, for one, they've been put in prison when they need to be put in the hospital, and two, a lot of them ain't medically trained, you know what I'm saying, to take care of individuals like that or help them get through what they're going through. And also, the system is really corrupted because they incarcerating them into a prison system because of their crime, but you got to look at what kind of condition that person is. So it starts before they even go to prison. It starts from, let's say, the county jail, because they got to go through that system first to make it to prison. The ground started right there. So it trickles down to when they throw them to the system, hey, they lost them if they ain't got the support they need. Yeah, and I would say, for anyone, it's a worry if they got low and they don't know what to do to get them the proper treatment because they got them away from them. So, I like the word is valid.
Yeah, so that brings me to my next question, which you pretty much just answered, and that was, what are your thoughts on the mentally ill receiving punishment over treatment? Because most of the time, and I'm just going to speak for myself in my situation, I feel like, my son being mentally ill, he was on the streets and, was homeless, dealing with substance abuse. He says he didn't have a substance abuse problem. He was just smoking marijuana and drinking. But, him having the mental illness and being on the streets, more often than not, he's going to run in, to the law. And it just shows how the system is really screwed up. Because instead of throwing them in jail, like you said, they need treatment over punishment, because most of the COs, they're not equipped or trained to deal with the mental illness. So their first thing to do is to, throw them on medication, overly medicate them and lock them in a cell, just basically treat them like overgrown children and just get them out the way so they're not worried about them rather. And in my opinion, it's doing a disservice, to the taxpayers that's paying for them to be in there incarcerated, and to the individuals that are in there, that need treatment over punishment. Now, have you had any one-on-one experiences with someone that you may have known that, was thrown in prison or jail instead of receiving treatment over punishment, that had a mental illness?
Okay, I can say during my time of incarceration, I had dealing with an old unit, and that's because of my institutional job that I had.
Okay.
And we had to feed the ones that had, we called that the mental ward. That's what they call it, and it was brand new. They just put it together. Mm-hmm. Government donated so much money to the system to put this mental ward together, and they hired, let's say they call nurses to come in and treat them, which the saying in prison, anything medical leave for is a doctor, a nurse, whatever, they reject from society and they can't perform their duties in society, so they put them in prison to keep their, jobs or whatever, and to stay in that field of work that they went to school for. Mm-hmm. But I would say, man, it is so many different illnesses, and I can't diagnose them or say what it is, but I know a lot of them. I'm talking about first and last name basis. Some of them with so much time where they don't belong up in there, or I done seen some that been in us so long, but they still have the mind frame of a kid, and whatever the case may be, man, this guy ain't in his right frame of mind to even commit the crime they committed. But then who to say that they care? Who to say that they would the classification, because they play a big role in getting these guys where they need to be for us institution wise. And I was like, I done seen some of the worst. I done seen some of the worst cases for mental illness, and they treat them like anyone else.
Yeah.
And that this person ain't in, a normal frame of mind. So who to know if this person would have got the right treatment, where would they be at right now? Because they're human like everybody else, but they ain't in the right frame of mind to be saying, well, they doing criminal activities because, they going through something that is an illness.
Exactly. And in my situation, like I said, my son is not a violent person. He's really not been in trouble before. He had 2 misdemeanor petty crimes, which was petty theft and refusing to leave someone's property when the owner instructed him to leave. And he was put on probation and 2 days later violated for the same charge. And they sentenced him to 2 years in prison, and I just feel like that was unjust. But I know that I'm not alone. I know that there are so many mothers, out there that are dealing with my same situation, and we're going to continue to stand together in solidarity and support for our loved ones that can't advocate for themselves. But in your opinion, my next question would be, in your opinion, does prison rehabilitate anyone?
Nah, that's something I could say I totally disagree with. Rehabilitation, that ain't something that this system is for. This system is for throwing them in prison and you feeling the best way you can. They offer programs, but for you to take them, they ain't just going to say, hey, you go take this program and get yourself together. They will suggest, hey, I would recommend, on your discretion, if you want to do something for yourself, you got to reach out and grab. Mm-hmm. Because the system is, all right, let's say from the CO's clarification, they do it on you sign a signature, they saying that they perform, they do this with the paperwork to send downtown. They say, all right, he's taking his GED, but say, all right, you just signed up for GED, ain't necessarily that you was going to your classes to meet your standard, getting your GED, or going to a trade.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really designed to, all right, you get up there, you feeling the best way you can, and some the time that they have, or really based on time, because you got someone with a lot of time that gives up and like, man, I'm gonna be in here for the rest of my life, or I'm gonna be in here for a long period of time. These folks ain't gonna let me go no time soon, so I'm gonna wait till I get closer before I take a program or whatever. And you got the ones with a little time that really don't care, because they like, man, if I end my sentence, I ain't gotta worry about no papers or nothing, dealing to the way they were sentenced. If they weren't sentenced to you serve so much time and you get out on parole or probation, guess what? The first thing they gonna think, well, I'm gonna end my time regardless. I'm just gonna sit around on my butt and, hey, I ain't finna do nothing but just, kick it with the fellas, or do what they do to make their time go by faster. The CO just as corrupt as them, or some of them might know some from the street, and we know that a lot of things get done in prison for us, get into the system. And a lot of guys have lost their mind in prison. Went in prison with the mind frame of, man, they can't take it, you know, within a good mind frame until they went to prison. And you have some that really isn't guilty of a crime,
Mm-hmm.
or shouldn't be sentenced the way they sentenced them to a crime that was committed, and their participation in the crime wasn't standard enough for the time that they gave them. So it's not rehabilitation. It's really a breeding ground. It's a school. It's a school that this person could have been better if they would have had that opportunity or a chance to do something outside them walls to get themselves together.
Mm-hmm.
Then put off in prison and wasted so much of their life up in just because it doesn't have anything to do with rehabilitation. So it's not a rehabilitation, it's a breeding ground. I promise you that.
A breeding ground for what? When you say a school and a breeding, I just want to get some clarity on this for the viewers.
It's a breeding ground for criminal activities, polishing up how you made your mistake, and how you gonna get out and do it a little bit more sophisticated this time. Breeding ground for someone that wasn't in a gang. They go to prison, they join gangs. You got a lot. They go to prison, join gangs to be with a crowd for protection.
Mm-hmm.
They go to prison and learn skills. If they was out there robbing, they might go to prison and pick up on some paperwork criminal activities now, where they can get the money a little bit more, not in a violent way. Drug cartels, whatever it may be. A lot of them go in there, they meet what they call plugs and stuff like that. The guys that ain't gonna never get out, but they still got some type of connection to criminal activity for us, chemicals or drugs or anything. And this person get out, guess what? He ties them in with some of his connections, and man, he go from there. Another way of getting out, and you still ain't doing the right thing.
Yeah. Well, I totally get that. My next question would be, in your opinion, what needs to change in the prison system for all inmates, not just the mentally ill, but for everyone looking to do their time and to change their lives?
I would say, speaking on that, the opportunity of having the opportunity to change, and the right people that's over the system. That's the only way I can see the right people over the system to recognize the changes that they got. Make somebody really, it's not just a chick.
Mm-hmm.
You deal with human life.
Exactly.
So it's not just a chick, a head count. Making sure this population is meeting the standard or over, because most of the prisons in the United States are overpopulated. Mm-hmm. We know this, county jails as well.
Yeah.
But you have cases up there that don't need to be in prison. Mm-hmm. That ain't suitable for prison. You got people losing their lives, and they went to prison for a little nothing, and they get put in a situation where they just can't take it no more. And I feel like you put the right people up in there it's a profession. I ain't saying go to work with your heart. Like I'm saying, go to work with understanding as well. You know, a profession that you know what you got to do because it's your job. Exactly. I think the biggest thing is getting the head start right to get everything to fall in line with them, to get the operation right, getting those openings. Because it's like when they put them up and out, you got more getting locked up than you got them letting them out. It's more people getting locked up than the people that they're letting out. It's more of they adding more beds to the system than it is letting people go. And I like that's backwards. And I like, why take a person's life for 20, 30 years when they haven't took a life? That's the way I see it. I'm like, all right, 20, 30 years for theft of property. 20, 30 years for, just because this man an habitual offender, but all his offenses isn't violent offenses, but you meet this kind of 3 strikes and they take their life for so many years on something that ain't even necessary. I say that's something that got to be looked at. I ain't no politician, but you just know when you know wrong.
Exactly, and I totally agree. So basically, you're saying the prison system is really a business. You know, they fill those beds up and they keep those guys going in like a rotating door. You know, we're not saying that people shouldn't be held accountable for, you know, whatever crimes or whatever wrongs that they've done. And I'm just trying to get some understanding here for myself and the viewers. But what you're saying is once they are sent in there, you know, they shouldn't be given so much time, and it should be more programs. And the senators and the local officials should do what they have to do to change this, because it's really creating more criminals as you're sending them in there. And when they come out, they're really worse than what they went in there, because they really needed treatment over punishment. True. Or just more programs being offered while they're in there. Is that
true?
Okay. Yeah. So I guess my last and final question would be, what's some inspirational words or encouragement that you can give to any woman, man, or child that's incarcerated right now, or any of their loved ones that's fighting for them? What would you tell them to get them through this situation and this tough time in their lives, being though you are a person that was there for 12 years and you made it through?
I would say find you something that would motivate you. I like, number one is prayer. I like whatever you are, Muslim, you are Christian, you are Buddha. I'm believing something. You can be an atheist. Atheists believe in something. Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, that's the number one thing, finding faith. And second, don't lay around and wait for something to happen. Try to make it happen for yourself. Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, if you ain't getting a response, continue to write. You know, until like a breakthrough come through, and maybe an address be put out that could help. Mm-hmm. Well, you don't put your practice in, because who you have been writing haven't been responding. Well, you prepared now. You know what you're trying to get out there. So I like, man, use your avenue. Stop utilizing pride and this stuff that they have going on in prison with the being tied in the groups. Well, open your avenues up. I'm like, speak up for yourself. Don't be afraid to, address the issue with someone outside of prison or somebody in a higher position. If you truly trying to make change, I ain't saying for the ones that just trying to get out so they can get back to doing what they was doing that put them up in there, but for the ones that you have made some change, you can be an asset to your community, to your family, to society. You know what I'm saying? You can change other lives. Man, work. I'm telling you, it takes work. I'm like, it ain't gonna be easy. It ain't no sweating my time, man. Get yourself out there. Make it known. If you got someone that loves you and they there for you, they writing you, they calling, they bad for you, keep in contact with them as much as possible. And whatever you trying to get out there, let them be your voice. Mm-hmm. Let them be your voice, because you can't be here. You can't make the calls. Let them make your calls.
Yeah.
But get yourself out there. All like, man, that is the biggest motivation you can have when you know you got someone that loves you and trying to do whatever they can to keep your head above water. But as well, don't drain them, keep them motivated. Don't drain them, don't tire them out, keep them motivated. But don't think communication is the best thing, so open your mouth.
Yeah. So what would your advice be to the loved ones that are incarcerated, who feels like, they're doing everything that they can, but at the same time they feel like they didn't put them in that situation. They're not going to worry with it. They have their own life to live. They don't have time to write letters, to set up visits, And here's my thing, and in my experience, because I have dated guys that were incarcerated for long periods of time, and I'm not new to the prison system as far as having loved ones that are in there, whether it's dating guys or whatever. But these guys, they're not just asking or wanting money. A letter, a simple letter goes such a long way. If you're not able to take the time out of your day to go visit your loved one, just a letter, just because they're in prison, it doesn't mean they're not a human being. You know what I mean? They're not dead. They're incarcerated, and you never know what the future holds. Anything could change. Anyone could be in that situation. And I've always prided myself on just treating people the way that I want to be treated. Understand that we have our own lives out here in the free world, and our loved ones that's incarcerated, they made their decisions and they're there. But I just don't feel like, we should just discard them and throw them away as if they're nothing. So what would your advice be to the loved ones that are on the outside, that are writing letters, that are visiting, and also to the ones that feel like, okay, I didn't put them there. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. I don't have money. It's not always about money. A letter will go a long way, in my opinion, or just showing them that you love them and you care. What are your thoughts on that? That'll be my last and final question.
All right, my thoughts on that is for the ones that, in positive communication with the ones that they love that's incarcerated, keep it going, don't stop, stay on that road, and not just keeping hope alive, keep faith alive, and whatever you're doing, if that person in a situation where they'll never get out, they still need someone that's gonna love them all the way to the end. So don't never give up on them, because they is a life that was brought into this world, and if they was out, you would love them just as well. They're away from you now, so keep the positive engine going and don't stop, because like she just said, any breakthrough can come. I mean, anything can happen. But don't just use that term to, be by their side. If you love that person, love them to the end. And for the ones that just tired or worn out, or they putting up with someone that's in there and they just disrespectful, they cussing you out because you ain't got enough money to send them, or treat their habits up in there. Don't let that weigh you down, or don't let that close the door on you. I like if you can't communicate with them because they ain't communicating positive, just pray for them. Do what you can, but don't let them control you. Don't let them dictate how you should live, because they're out of the way of your life. You got to keep life going. So, but the love don't stop. The love don't stop. Be there for them. I like if you be there for them behind the door and they don't know it. I like, man, you doing your part. Mm-hmm. So get your blessing the best way you can as well. Pray for them. Maybe when it's time for them to wake up, they'll wake up. But
exactly.
Stay there for them. Don't give up on them.
Exactly. Well, I want to thank you for giving me this time to do this interview. Is there anything that you would like to ask me, or anything you would like to say to the viewers personally before we end this interview?
Well, I don't have anything to say. I enjoyed the interview, and I enjoy watching your YouTube channel as well, being a guest, and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your love and your support every day. I know it's not easy dealing with me and my situation, with my son and so many more. For those of you that are not new to the channel, that I have my own personal issues and diagnoses that I have. So, I just want to give you your flowers while you're here and tell you I thank you so much for loving me like no other man that I've ever been with before. You stand with me when I feel like you should have ran away. You know what I mean? Because it does get overwhelming. So I thank you for being the strong, great man that you are. And I love you for loving me. And I just want to say thank you. And guys, I am Unique Queen. We are the Determination Nation. Guys, if you have a loved one that's incarcerated and you feel like they're being treated unjustly or their rights are being violated, you can email me at uqueen358@gmail.com, and we will set up an interview. We will get the word out. I stand, in total solidarity with you guys. I am here. I'm an advocate and as well as a peer. If you're someone that's incarcerated and you feel like you're being treated unjustly and your rights are being violated, again, you can email me at uqueen358@gmail.com. And guys, we will get through this with support. We are the human family. So again, guys, I am Unique Queen. We are the Determination Nation, guys. And until next time, guys, please keep fighting.